Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Live from Tipsy Steer in High Pines, Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck has been presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com. Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck has also been brought to you by Tipsy Steer in High Pines, located at County Road C in Snelling, proud sponsor of Gopher Football, and by Cub, the official grocer of Gopher Athletics. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gopher Sports Network.
Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I'm sick of it, man. I really am. I'm fed up with all the crap that I hear. I think it's bandwagon. I really do, man. These guys lay it on the line. These guys are in the training room, man. Guys lay it on the line, man. They lay it on the line. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
What do you think of that?
I said, what are you looking at?
Pop balls, column, anytime, anywhere.
Little hoop action. Little puck talk.
Chicago's a tough guy town.
Oh.
Wrong again, liberal media.
Time for two more.
To go. Somebody's O has got to go. Somebody's O has got to go.
I'm pulling my ticket.
Game plan looks like. Looks like. Looks like.
Lowercase d's.
Delicious. Cam Dantzler, what are you doing?
Straight up. Cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash out, cash out, cash out, cash out, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash out.
Brilliant! No!
I mean, it's like, hello.
Hello, 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 hello. Okay, hold on.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the North.
No, that hasn't been true for a long time, my boy.
Dan Cole.
I'm getting stronger as the days and weeks go by. I'm the common man, Dan Cole, and this is the worst all-sports radio station in the country. So says a former employee who, funny, was fired from here. I'm a radio dinosaur. The fans of my La Brea Tar Pit, someday paleontologists and archaeologists will be sifting through the rubble. That will be 1600 Utica Avenue South, and they'll find my skeletal remains and then my cold, dead, rigor mortis laden lips attached to this electro voice RE27, and they'll say, "Egad!" A social commentator with an archaic communication device. We're here until 3. It's a truncated Common Man program today. As always, we promise to bring you nonstop nonsense, tomfoolery, and skullduggery. We are uninformed, unprepared, and unapologetic. If you want poised, polished, and professional, that's coming your way a little bit later, 3 o'clock, big ticket. And JG tend to be out today. I think oral surgery or something. I think he's put his foot in his mouth one too many times. We are excited and delighted to be joined by Phil and Fuller, yeah, on the Brad Sean Bryant Holla Hotline.
Yes, sir.
KFAN text line 64686, the number there. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Common Man. It's always fun.
Just this shift, or did you double up? Were you doing PA Dubé too?
I tripled up. I was on the power trip. And then I ran the board for PA and Nordo, the mad producer, and now I'm hanging out. Actually, I guess quadruple a little bit if you count Gophers Football Weekly. So I'm kind of quadrupled up.
You're quadded up. Let me ask you a question. Where was the purveyor of positivity today? Was he out on Vikings?
He was at TCO. The FRO was here. He was at TCO.
Yeah, exactly. The TCO, which we call, I like to call the new Winter Park. Did you know that somebody over at TCO was annoyed and they actually emailed the program director and said, it's not Winter Park. It's really? TCO. Give the name buying rights. Is that what we call them? Yeah. What is that? Well, there's a different word for it that I'm forgetting, but they naming rights.
I was just going to say
naming rights. Yeah, give the naming rights client the respect they deserve. And it's like, well, they didn't pay me the money. I didn't get anything out of that deal. Though you know me, I love advertising. It's what I've done my entire life, marketing, advertising. I think our most important offering here are the commercial messages. It gives you an opportunity to find out about great goods, good service, and savings for you. Super America Man, great gas, good goods, and save. It tells you about great savings and specials and all sorts of things on great goods and products and services for our listeners, and that's why they're here. So I don't mind, but I never did like the idea, and I've talked about this before. They always called it Winter Park when it was in Eden Prairie. Then when they left, they just forget about Max Winter? I mean, I know he's not with us anymore, but come on. And so I call it both. I call it TCO Performance Center or the new Winter Park, and that's where PA was today. Did you listen closely, or were you like Dark Star used to like to say, I really wasn't listening. I was just waiting for my turn to talk. The reason I ask is I'm wondering I wanted to gauge the temperature of the purveyor of positivity, Barney the Purple Dinosaur. I mean, when they were 5-0, he was on cloud nine. I mean, they did look like a team without a weakness. I mean, they were offense, defense, their kicker still hasn't missed a kick. Their defense was if not shutting every team down, they were slowing they were shut some down completely and slowed others to almost a crawl. And, the offense was produced. I mean, we had that streak going where we'd only trailed
like 3 minutes.
3 minutes, 46 seconds or something crazy like that. We just jumped off. Even in our first loss, we got all over the Kitties. If you'll remember, they were forced into a 4th and 27, and then dangerous Danny Campbell said, I'll fool them all. We'll go for a fake punt here. And there wasn't a person in the stadium, including the Vikings, that knew, well, there's a pretty good chance Danny Campbell will call a fake punt here. I think they gained like 2 yards.
Yeah.
Then the Vikings, was it 1 or 2 plays later they scored?
I think it was
the second play.
I think it was the second play. Aaron Jones got a big run.
Well, did they throw it to him? Or was it a run? No, it was a run. You're right.
It was a big run.
It was right. Well, and they did the old, it was such a simplistic play. It's like we used to play back when I was a precise, fierce pass rushing, Rock of Gibraltar run stopping defensive lineman in a precise route running, sure-handed pass catching tight end back in Coon Rapids Athletic Association days, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, which would have been back in 68, 69, and 70 was when I was in my prime for football. I was a really good player. If I don't mind saying so myself, and quite frankly, I don't mind saying so myself. But why was I talking about myself? I don't even like talking about myself.
You were talking about how much you know the game. It was a simple play because you know the game. You're well versed in the game. You played, but it might not be simple to us casuals.
They did all of the players started going to the right. So the Lions just followed him to the right, and then Aaron Joe just went to the left, and nobody touched him, and it was 7-0. Then it was 10-0. I mean, your mama couldn't stop him. Your daddy couldn't stop him. The police couldn't stop him. Nobody could stop him. And then all of a sudden, the tables were turned. It's been ever since that that second quarter when the Lions scored not one tutty, not two tutties, but three tutties. They did surrender the lead. The Vikings took the lead. Remember, they had the interception. Pace goes in, they score. But then the Lions were able to answer back, and then they kicked the game winner, and the Vikings had an opportunity to close out. And then against the Jets, still, again, they went back and forth. Each team scored a tutty in their first possessions. First two possessions was 14-14. Then all of a sudden it was like offense became a rumor at that point, and the defenses took over, and then the Vikings ended up losing that. So I'm just wondering how Barney's feeling right now.
Well, he was feeling pretty good. No surprise there. I wasn't paying attention intently. I was watching Maury on the TV, and I did have the sound on. The guy was not cheating on his wife, by the way. Okay. In case anybody was wondering, he was innocent. The lie detector test determined that he was innocent. But PA was feeling pretty good. I think he was feeling better because the news hadn't broke yet. At the time, he was still thinking Anthony Richardson was going to be the Colts' starting quarterback. Anthony Richardson, I think, is the most inaccurate quarterback in the NFL today and has a lower pass rating than Bryce Young, who was benched on the worst team in the NFL. But shortly before 1 o'clock, it was the news just broke from Ian Rappaport, I believe, that the Colts will be starting old Joe Flacco.
And there's Uncle Joe. He's moving kind of slow at the junction. I asked Tenneby about the Richardson character earlier, and again, the only reason I was asking, I was probably in the middle of my lunch and just wanted him to go on a long rambling dissertation. Yeah. The Richardson kid was supposed to be a star, right? Another guy drafted early.
Fourth overall pick.
Yeah, and it's just not panned out, right? He's just been at best.
He got hurt last year, so we didn't really get to see, but he showed flashes here and there. And even in game one of this year, I don't know if you saw the highlight, he had that incredible, he passed the ball 60 yards down the field for a monster touchdown. They ended up losing to Houston in that game one, but everyone was thinking, well, they lost, but hey, the Colts are on their way. It looks like the AFC South is going to be, quite a division. And then he just has not panned out, and he has been god awful. And then I think the death knell over the weekend is him taking himself out of the game.
Yeah, he was tired
in the red zone. And then admitting that he said, "I ain't gonna lie, I was tired, brother. You should have lied. You don't say that out loud." And I think that might have been the last straw for them, and they're going to try their hand with Joe Flacco.
Then I have a question for you. Flacco won a big game, right? Didn't he win one with the Ravens?
I believe it was against Colin Kaepernick in the 49ers.
I think that's exactly right. It was the Harbaugh Bowl. Mm-hmm. The night the lights went out in Georgia. What's that game in Georgia?
Was it? I mean, probably.
Have you ever heard the song "That's a Night That the Lights Went Out in Georgia"? No,
I don't think it.
Gosh. I mean, we could play the song, but then you have to go in and edit it out. I mean, we're allowed to do that. It'd be up to you. It was Vicki Lawrence. Vicki Lawrence did the first version of it, and it was a
Southern Gothic murder ballad.
Yeah. It would be considered cheesy nowadays. It was a big. Vicki Lawrence used to be an actress who was on the Carol Burnett show.
I've seen this lady before.
Yeah, it was Vicki Lawrence, Carol Burnett, Tim Conway, and Harvey. Harvey. Look up Carol Burnett show. Google Carol Burnett.
Okay.
Harvey Kornheiser. No, Kornheiser's a sports guy. Cormish. What was his name?
Harvey. I'm on the website right now. Harvey Korman.
Harvey Korman. There was a very popular show back in my days. A lot of people liked it.
A lot of people.
And Vicki Lawrence did the song called "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia." And my favorite verse is, "And the judge said guilty in a make-believe trial, slapped the sheriff on the back with a smile and said, supper's waiting at home and I got to get to it." So it was just a sham trial. Just framed them. They didn't care. He had supper waiting at home. He had to get to it, man. He didn't have time for some long, drawn-out court trial.
They didn't have microwaves.
No, man. He needed to get home. Who cares about some innocent guy going to prison for the rest of his life?
That's small-time stuff.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite lines in sports. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, former world middleweight champion of the world. He was fighting Mustafa Hamsho, the Syrian buzzsaw. You ever watch Hamsho versus... They fought twice.
Yeah.
Do you notice every time Hagler had a rematch. He beat the guy up even
worse.
Even worse than he did the first time.
It was like he was offended that there was a rematch.
Really? You want more of this?
Again?
Yeah,
Okay.
you want some of this again? Come and get it. So the first time, Hamshaw was stopped in, I've told the story before, so bear with me. 11th round, the referee stopped it. And, God, Hamshaw was so tough. You know what he would do? Hagler would hit him like with combinations for about 30 seconds. And then he would kind of step back thinking, well, he's about to fall, right? Mm. And Hamshaw would just stick his tongue out at it. You'd go like that, like, you're not hurting me. And
which is always a telltale sign that the fight is not going well.
Yes,
usually
exactly.
For the person sticking the tongue out.
So he's sticking his tongue out at Hagler. They called him the Syrian, but Hamshaw was a hell of a fight. Well, all those guys that fought Hagler were really, some of them might have been the champion if it wouldn't have been for Marvelous Marvin Hagler dominating the division, right?
It was kind of like the similar situation with the Jordan Bulls in the 90s. So many of those guys could have won championships, but they ran into the Jordan Bulls.
They ran into Jordan Bulls.
A lot of these guys could have been champions, but they ran into the Fabulous Four.
That's exactly right. And so they asked Hamshaw after the end of the fight, he had to have 73 stitches to sew up his face. 73. And they asked Hagler, and he said, this is almost an exact quote. I think it's because I memorize it. He said, well, I saw the meat hanging down from around his eyes, and I thought, better him than me, so I kept punching. Better him than me. It's one of my favorite phrases. We'll break, we'll come back. Do you have a keyword?
I do indeed. The Fan and Two Men in a Junk Truck want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword check at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword check. Enter now at KFAN.com. Join the voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen, out at Hy-Vee in Eagan this afternoon. Stop by from 4 to 5 p.m. to meet PA and Vikings defensive back Cam Bynum, a.k.a. Cam Beasy, thanks to Hy-Vee and Pepsi.
Cam Beasy!
Yeah! Plus a live Q&A event to follow. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Big Ticket has Kevin Seaver and Lou Nanny today. Tomorrow, Mike Conley, Mason, Your Face, and Kessler. I've got Rosen. We call that scraping the bottom of the old barrel, is what we call that. But Mark Rosen makes his triumphant return today at about 2 o'clock. I just saw him arrive not long ago. I'm about to say something controversial.
Whoa.
You're supposed to say that's interesting.
That's interesting.
I think the Colts have a better chance to win with Flacco than Richardson. Flacco's the crafty veteran that has a ring. He's got nothing to prove or nothing to lose anymore, right? He's just, this is just gravy train for him, right? I mean, wasn't he out of the league and retired and then came back? I'm almost certain that's what he did. Did he not?
Yeah, I believe he was sitting on his couch chilling, and then the Browns called him up last year after Watson's injury, and a couple other quarterbacks didn't work out. And
he was still spinning it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he led them to the playoffs.
Yes. So my point is, and you got, and again, this isn't to suggest that, he's got B-Flow's number and that there won't be some things that might pop up during the game that he's going to scratch his head. Well, it's hard to scratch your head when your helmet's on, but you know what I'm saying? He'll go, I don't like this. Or he might pull a Brock Purdy, that quote from right after the Vikings 49ers game when Purdy went up to B-Flow and said, man, your scheme is crazy. But Flacco's seen a lot. There's probably not a lot that's going to fool him. And like I said, what has he got to lose? So you're going to cut me? Okay, I'll just go home and live with my riches. He's made millions and millions of dollars. He's got a ring. He's got a trophy. He doesn't. So I'd rather face Richardson. Now, Richardson's probably more mobile, stronger arm, all that, but those crafty veterans. Now, that's not to suggest I think, we ought to run up the white flag now. It's over. We can't beat Joe Flacco and the Indianapolis Colts. But the reason I bring that up is because you said you sort of sensed some relief from PA that we were facing Joe Flacco. And Joe,
no, it was the reverse. I think he felt better about playing Richardson.
So he agrees with me. Okay, yes, okay. Then PA and I both have great football minds. Then we both see it clearly. And that's the way I look at it because, again, Flacco's not playing for anything other than he's out there having fun. Win some football games if he can, wing it around the ballpark. You know, he's really got nothing to lose. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, he's playing with house money.
Yeah, that's the way the kids say it.
Speaking of house money, Joe Flacco, 22nd all-time in career earnings in the NFL.
How much money?
Over $180 million.
That's going to get him to the grave, Foo.
Yeah. That's
going to get him to the grave. It should. Chris Carter once said $30 million ain't going to get you to the grave, Foo. But I think 180 will. That should. It's a lot of loot. I got accused of being a fraud by an emailer or a text messenger. Well, and I was because I said I wouldn't watch any of the World Series. Because L.A. and New York, I'm envious and jealous of the big markets. You know, they get all the attention, we get nothing. I'd been pulling for Guardians, Tigers, and Royals. And Guardians were finally eliminated.
Speaking of frauds.
Yeah, so then I just decided I wasn't. Well, then, you know, it's like I guess I was tempted. You know, and it's sort of like, you know, you don't want to watch the scary movie, but then all of a sudden you have your hands over your face and you kind of peek a little bit through your finger. You got to see
what's going on. Yeah.
And so I did watch Game 1, and Game 1 was spectacular.
Oh, I mean,
it was an all-timer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sports theater at its best.
Freddie Freeman pulling a Kirk Gibson. He's got the bat ankle, and hits the first ever walk-off grand slam in World Series history. Then they win Game 2, and last night again, I think I've got African sleeping sickness. Have you ever heard of African sleeping? Look it up.
I've never heard of it.
African sleeping. It's. I think I was bitten by a radioactive tsetse fly because I can't stay awake at night no matter what I'm watching. If it's a Vikings game or a Lions game, I can generally make it. What does it say about African sleeping sickness?
It says African sleeping sickness, also known as human Africa trypanosomiasis.
Okay, yeah, that's what I got.
Parasitic disease spread by the bite of the tsetse fly.
The tsetse fly.
The tsetse fly. Symptoms usually appear like fever.
Yeah.
Rash.
Yeah.
Swelling.
Yeah. And really tired.
Yeah.
So I must have it. Well, I can't. What other explanation? No, I haven't been to Africa, and I don't feel like I've been bitten by a tsetse fly. I think it also saying there it's very rare. Like it only happens about 4 people a year.
Yeah.
But maybe that's me. So I didn't see much of the game, but now it's over because and Freddie Freeman did it again.
All 3 games.
And then you know what? I had heard that going back to the last time he was in the World Series, he said the last 5 World Series games he's played and he's hit a home run.
Yeah. Tied for a record all time.
And so he's just ruined it for any kind of drama. There's no drama here now. So
he was taken out of the lineup in a couple of those early playoff games because he's so hurt.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Meanwhile, Aaron Judge is totally healthy and he's hitting sub 100.
He's just been I saw his first at bat last night, and I thought he knocked it out of the park, but he got under it just a little bit, and it was kind of just a lazy fly ball. But yeah, he has been. It was supposed to be the Ohtani versus Judge showdown, and Ohtani hasn't really done that much either, has he?
He's been okay.
He's been okay,
he's
though.
Not superhero-like like he normally is, but he's been okay throughout the World Series. But in the playoffs in general, he's been pretty Ohtani-like.
Yeah, and so
something like 17 of 20 with runners in scoring position at one point.
So that's that. Both the Wolves play tonight, right?
Yes, sir. Dallas Mavericks.
At the
crib.
The Mavericks at the crib. Is it at the crib?
At the crib, baby. 6:30.
Yeah, I call it the. I always called it the bullseye. Target. They're at bullseye.
Bullseye. I like
or the crib. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. And then I think the Wild are now Pittsburgh playing the Steelers. I think. Or Steelers. The Penguins. Is that right?
That is right.
So
on the road. I've been on the road all month.
I'm going to ask you about the Wolves on the other side of the break because you're a basketball guy. Rosen's a hockey guy. I'll save the Wild talk with him. He loves going to St. Paul. He goes to all the games. But we'll talk a little hoops and hockey. We'll do that next. This is the Common Man program here on The Fan.
Stand Up to Cancer's vehicle donation program makes it easy to turn your unwanted vehicle into funding to support innovative cancer research. This research leads to new treatments for patients right now. Donate your car today. Visit standuptocancer.org/cars to learn more.
Raise a glass for Ron White's return to the island. From hilarious childhood stories to witty tales about life now, you'll laugh along to it all when he takes the stage at Treasure Island on Saturday, April 19th. Tickets are on sale now, and you can get yours at TICasino.com.
Should be a couple of 13-14 past Common Man program. Someone sent a text message during that last break and said, you could hear you and Rosie talking during the break. That would have been Max in Common. Rosie's not here yet. And that's all right. We got nothing to hide. I didn't swear, did I?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. There was something else I was going to say before I got onto the hoops thing, but I don't remember what it was. Well, let's just get to hoops then.
People are calling me out on the text line as well, calling me a fraud because I guess Shohei only has one hit.
Yeah.
But it seems like more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're getting ripped. And I thought he threw me in. I thought somebody was trying to throw out. And I was thinking to myself, I kind of thought I said it just hasn't turned out to be that great. And then you start talking about how brilliant he is.
I didn't say, okay.
I think you said he had 8 homers in only 4 at-bats.
I'm a fraud.
Yeah, we're all frauds.
I'm a fraud.
Wolves tonight, I said something very controversial yesterday. I said, when it comes to hockey and the NBA, the regular season sort of kind of, and I know why they do it, because in order to pay these enormous salaries, you have to have a lot of games on TV, right? You can't just jump to the playoffs every year and go, okay,
here we go.
Let's just do a playoff thing here. That's not going to work. But for instance, with the Wolves, especially with basketball, because we heard it after the first game of the season. Ant says, well, I just don't think we were prepared to play or something, some nonsense like that. It's like, well, how are you not prepared to play week 1? And he said something about, the other team, maybe. He said something to the effect of, well, we thought the other team was respecting us. In other words, that they'd have so much respect for us, they would just be trembling and wouldn't come out and give us anything they want. And it's like, so we hear the same things. If the Wolves go on a losing streak, we'll talk about we're not giving enough effort, not doing this. Then they'll go on a winning streak. And to me, especially now with the Wild, I don't know, because they weren't expected to do much this year because they still have that dark cloud of the Parisi Suter contracts hanging over their heads for one more season, but they've gotten off to a nice little start. Wolves, even after the trade, they're going to be in the mix. They're going to make the playoffs. It would have to be a collapse of epic proportions for them not to make it, or major injuries where Ant tears his knee to shred, out for the season. Otherwise, they're going to make, it's just a matter of where are they going to be seated. Will it be 1, 2, 3? The lowest I think they could probably get would be 4, right? So
4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. So they're going to make postseason play. So I'm like, to dissect and analyze every single game, for hours on end just doesn't seem like it's really accomplishes much, because it can change so quickly, and there's load management, and there's this and that and the other thing. I guess with the Wolves, the one interesting thing to keep an eye on is how does the new guy, is it Julius Randle? Is that the name?
Yep. Julius Randle and Dante.
Yeah. How well do they mesh and blend in with the club? And after the first game, you thought, well, that was a mistake. Probably should have hung on to, should have swallowed hard on the money and just kept Big Meow. But the next 2 games, they haven't. Both games they've played really well, right? Hasn't Randall? I know one game, did he have 33?
Yeah, he had 33, I believe, in game 2. And then last game he had 24, so almost 60 points over the last couple of games. And that's exactly what the Wolves need him to do, because, like you said, without Karl Anthony Towns there, that's a huge vacuum on offense, because so many of the Wolves' points came from Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and to a lesser extent Naz Reid last year. So that's a huge vacuum that he had to fill. And after that first game, Anthony Edwards said it after the game. He said, hey, I told Randall, you do your thing, we'll fit in around you. Stop being, stop trying to acquiesce. We'll fit in around you. And it seems like that advice has worked, because Randall's been pretty great since then.
And when you have players, because he's 2 or 3-time All-Star, right? Or all pro, whatever they call them in basketball, all first team, whatever it is. And when you're that good, I think you can blend in. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, it's just basketball. They all been playing since Pop Warner, Howard Pulley, Travel, AAU, Big Sis, the whole thing, right? They've been playing hoops forever. So it's not like it's that complicated. So if you're really good, you should blend in with your teammates. It just matter how quickly would it happen. And it looks like it hasn't taken the Wolves that long at all. There's been a lot of, and I want to get your thought on this because you're paying closer attention to the Wolves than I have been. But I've seen bits and pieces where people are having some apprehension of the Finch likes to keep a pretty short bench, right? He plays 8 or 9. And there's some talk about, well, why aren't we playing like the 2 rookies are both, you know, when they drafted Dillingham and
Terrence Shannon Jr.
Yeah, the kid from Illinois, there was a lot of excitement. And Conley was being, I mean, they were throwing bouquets at his feet, going, this guy, he's done it again. He built Denver into a world championship team. Then he was able to pivot and create a team that could beat the team that he helped create to win a world championship. Now what does he do for an encore? And because they had to trade Towns, just the money thing, we all know that's the number one reason. It could also be maybe they thought it's just not going to work with, you know, because Towns he was brilliant against the Joker in Denver, and against Dallas, he just wasn't there. Maybe they thought there's an inconsistency there that we don't know if we can ever get past. So then we had no draft picks because of the Gobert thing. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, we're getting 2 really highly regarded college kids. And I know it's early in the season, but they're not playing at all. And then who was the other guy we got? Ingles?
Joe Ingles. Yeah, he's barely played.
And he's played a little bit. He was supposed to be considered. And then I know everybody in this town loves the big kid from Iowa.
Luka Garza.
Yeah, and he was a 2-time NCAA Player of the Year. Right?
Yeah, Iowa's best basketball player in their history.
Yes. And these guys aren't getting to play at all. And look, far be it from me to question. I didn't. Dude, I'm 5'8" and I'm white. I don't play basketball. Right? I didn't play hoops.
Right.
I've watched a lot of hoops, but I don't play. So far be it for me to question Chris Finch on his rotation. But I've seen some people write about it. I've heard it talked about. I tend to agree. Especially when you're early in the year, especially if you're in blowout games or whatever, I don't know why you wouldn't be giving these kids some more experience and give them some real playing time. It's, you know, and I'm not talking about load management where it's like, hey, guess what? Gobert's not starting tonight. Naz Reid's going to take a night off, and now we're going to go with Luka Garza the whole game. I'm talking about just getting them into games for some significant minutes, or do they not? Is it because the coach doesn't trust them, or it's, you know, do you think you might lose a handful of games by giving those guys experience? And then there was a big difference from being the 3rd seed and the 4th seed. I get it, right?
Right.
It's a big difference. You know, if you're the 3, you're playing the 6. That would, you just, by seeding wise, it doesn't always mean matchups can mean a lot of things too. Sometimes a 6 can be a really good 6, right? But I can understand you'd rather be the 3 than that. You'd rather be a 3 than the 5. But do you share any of that, or do you like the way the rotation goes now? And hey, the kids will get it. If there's injuries, they'll get time to play. But otherwise, it's not happening.
No, I've been kind of confused by that as well. And Finchy obviously knows a million times more about basketball. He's forgot more about basketball than I'll ever know. But
I'm not sure about that.
Well, I appreciate that. But I was expecting, especially judging by his own answers and interviews and stuff, for Dillingham to be into games by now at this point in the season, because they went out of their way to move up in the draft and go get him, and because that was one of the glaring things that this team needed in their playoff run, is a guy that can go out there and get his own bucket. And obviously we all know Mike Conley's in his 18th year. He's no spring chicken. He still looks great, but he's still, I mean, I would say this year a little bit more so early on, he looks like kind of like he's in his 18th year. So you would expect a guy like Dillingham to come in and spell him for a little bit and take some of that playmaking responsibility off of Mike Conley's shoulders. I never really thought Terrence Shannon was going to get in very early. As talented as he is, this team is loaded up with guards, especially getting Dante DiVincenzo. So I always thought it'd be kind of hard for him to find minutes on the team. But I am incredibly baffled that Dillingham hasn't been able to get in even a little bit, and especially the fact Joe Ingles, you went out and got him. He's a 3-point specialist. I kind of expected him to fill that Kyle Anderson role coming off of the bench, being the veteran, maybe setting the table a little bit for guys, and then obviously he's more of a scoring threat than Kyle Anderson. But I'm definitely confused by the Dillingham bid. I would expect him to start getting in eventually. I don't know if Finchie's just focused on getting DiVincenzo and Randall in the mix and getting them comfortable first, and then kind of switching it up. But I'm wondering what his plan is with Dillingham, and then again with Luka Garza or even Josh Minot, who had a phenomenal preseason.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was incredible, and there is no true center coming in to spell Rudy off of the bench. I mean, we went from being one of the biggest teams in the NBA, having the Twin Towers, having Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert in for most of the game, to now when Rudy Gobert's not on the floor, they're looking a little bit small, and they don't necessarily have a true center guy. Not saying Luka Garza or Josh Minot is going to be the guy that you want out there guarding Jokic or Joel Embiid or the elite centers of the NBA, but you got to have somebody out there to kind of match their size, because they don't necessarily have a true center. So I would imagine those guys will find their way into the lineup eventually, and Finchie's known for having these sort of tight rotations, these short rotations, but this team is so deep that I think he kind of has to let go of that a little bit and give some of these younger guys a chance to play.
A couple of things. First of all, not only is Mike Conley not a spring chicken, I don't even think he's a summer chicken at this point. I think he's late fall, early winter even, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's been there long. I've had several people, and I've seen this explanation, and a number of people have texted it to me, saying they got 2 new guys 2 weeks before the start of the season. They need those 2 to get some chemistry started. Looks like the chemistry's okay to me. And again, I'll go back to, it's just basketball, man. These guys know how to play. You know, once you know the playbook and you know what the coach wants you to do, they've all done it. An outlet pass is an outlet pass. Alley-oop's an alley-oop, a slam dunk's a slam dunk, a three-pointer, a screen. It's basketball's not that complicated. I know we always want to believe it is. And maybe they will. Someone else sent a text message that says the others will get in after week 1. Well, we'll see. I would hope so. The reason I question that is because in talking to people and reading things, and the people I trust, they tell me, but Finch has done this forever. This has been the way he operates most of the time, that those guys will languish on the bench for long. And you know what? It's not that I feel sorry for those guys. And if you're look, hey, we went to the Western Conference Finals last year, so we're doing something right. But we'll see. I'll believe it when I see it. And you know what? Maybe we don't need to go deep. Maybe we're just going to win games, get guys to gel, and we're going to get the number 1 seed overall, and we don't need to go deep. I don't know, but I would like to see some of these guys get a bit more playing time, especially when, you know, we apparently aren't a team that does a lot of the load management stuff. I mean, look at Embiid. He's already said, well, I won't play back-to-back. He's missed the first. He's already load management early. Has he played a game yet, Joel Embiid?
I'm not
I don't think he's been in a game yet.
I mean, him and Paul George were already out in the very first game of the season. It's a joke.
So you've got... And to me, this is not the true, this would not be the true definition of load management, because load management is what he ain't playing tonight. Why? Needs to rest. Okay. You know, the NBA is trying to punish teams for that. Like, can't do it on a nationally televised game. And supposedly you're not supposed to do, what is it? You don't do it on the road, or I don't know what they have. They're trying to encourage players to play more, right? And so this is a way to load management, where, in other words, instead of telling, hey, Rudy, you're getting the entire game off, Rudy, instead of playing, was it NBA 48 minutes? Instead of playing 44, you're only going to play 34, because we're going to let Garza and what's the other guy's name? The other big guy?
Josh Minot.
Josh Minot. We're going to let those guys play a little bit. What do you think of that? No, you know, again, when the game is out of hand or it's still early in the ball game, but we'll see if that changes at all. I just stumbled across a story today. Have you heard of this kid named Oliver? I don't know how to say his last name. Rioux.
Rioux. No. I mean, I think, okay, I've seen this kid. Yeah, I've seen this kid online before. 7'9".
He's a teenager. He's 7'9".
He's a teenager?
Gainesville, Florida. Associated Press, Dateline, Gainesville, Florida. Walking from his apartment to classes and then to the University of Florida's basketball facility, Oliver Rue, we'll just go with Rue. Maybe you could IHOP his name and see if they have a pronunciation. Poses for dozens, sometimes hundreds of pictures a day. Vertical shots, of course. He won't fit in the frame any other way. Good line. At 7'9", he is the ultimate BMOC. He's actually the biggest man on campus. The Florida freshman, a happy-go-lucky Canuck who owns a spot in the Guinness record book as the world's tallest teenager, also will make basketball history when he plays for the 21st ranked Gators this season. The cheerful guy known as Ollie will become the tallest to play college hoops, supplanting 7'7" Kenny George of UNC Asheville back in 06-08. He's 2 inches taller than former NBA Giants George Murison and Manute Bol, 3 inches taller than Yao Ming, Taco Fall, and Sean Bradley.
Wow.
They talk to him, he says, we get asked questions every day. You don't have a single 3 seconds to yourself when you're outside, which I was fine with because my brother and my dad are tall. And as a family, we used to go out. That's just how it was. And you can't change that just because people are curious. I love this one. His college teammates have gotten used to it by now. Micah Handlegotten, he goes, it's really weird looking up to someone because he's 7'1".
That's got to be surreal for him.
But being around him just about every day, it's just different when you're out in public with him. People normally ask me, you're so tall, do you play basketball? No one says a word to me now. Everyone just looks at him. It's kind of crazy, and he doesn't shy away from it. He actually embraces it. He says it does help to be Canadian. You just get used to it. Talking to people is nice because they are curious, and you can't change that. 7'9". Now, I think I read in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Be painful.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing because I think when you're that tall, it does lead to health issues later in life.
Yeah.
Where you just have issues. You just do. But that's okay. You'll be fine. Can you Google Guinness Book of World Records, the tallest man ever? I don't think he's been supplanted. It was the guy from Robert
Wadlow.
Yeah, Robert Wadlow. Now, he was back in 1910 or 1920, right?
8'11". Yeah, he died in 1940.
How old was he when he died? He was young.
Born in 1918. So was that 22?
Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, he didn't.
Man.
It was at 32. I can't do math.
He's 22.
22 years old. What was he? 8'11"?
8'11", while his weight reached 439 pounds.
I mean, that's just astonishing.
God.
So anyway,
7'9". Even if you're bad at basketball, just being there.
That's what I was going to say. I said your skills probably don't even have to be. You're a shot blocker extraordinaire, right? You can't shoot over them.
Yeah.
It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
You talk about rim protectors. I mean, think about that. The rim is 10 feet.
He doesn't even have to stay there.
No.
He doesn't have to jump to dunk.
No.
If there was no if there was no rules about it, he could just sit there by the rim and just stand and just swat it all day.
Well, and even then, now I suppose all you do is you just have him go under the basket. If he's not open, then they'll just let him go. He just keeps going back and forth, and they finally just alley-oop it to him.
Right.
I mean, all of he's going to lead. He'll hold the all-time record for most alley-oop baskets in the history of the game.
In his rookie year.
It's...
My gosh.
I mean, and again, I don't know. He grew up in Quebec. realized at an early age he was different. He was taller than most of his teachers in elementary school. When I was in elementary school, Mr. Kaiser would take us down to the boiler room to give us the paddle if we misbehaved.
Oh, ain't no paddle.
He ain't taking him down to the no, not a chance, man.
At that point, you are the teacher.
You are correct.
You sit down for cookies and milk. I'm the teacher now, brother.
He crossed the 6-foot mark by age 8.
My God.
And topped 7 feet the summer before 7th grade.
Can you imagine you're going to baby brother Peter's AAU game and you see that kid show up?
Well, I'll show you a picture. There was a kid out of Eau Claire when Pete was in like 5th grade. The parents, we joked, we said, after the game, the kid from Eau Claire, we said, let's go out and see if he gets in the car and drives away, because I'll show you the picture. He was the biggest kid I've ever seen. He had to have, this is like 5th, 6th grade. He's 6'5". I'll show you the picture.
That's insane.
I have a classic picture of Pete and his buddy Jackson, we call him Jay, and they're going to try to, this kid's not even jumping, but he's going to take a shot and they're going to go up and block it. And they're just tiny little kids going up. And what's the best part is, they're both trying to jump up to kind of my block shot, but they're keeping their distance because they don't want them to get, because they're going up and to get crushed by this guy. It's a great photo. I'll show it to you during a break. Let's speaking of break, we'll take a break, and then we'll welcome the legendary Mark Rosen into the conversation. That's next. Common Man Program here on The Fan.